Okay. Assalamu alaikum. We are live. Brothers and sisters, welcome to Ahmadiyya Fact Check blog. Today we have a pioneer in Ahmadiyya awareness, and I'm gonna post the YouTube link in the chat so we can get this sent out. There it is. Um, okay. Do you see the YouTube link
I see the YouTube link. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
in the private
Thank
chat?
you. Thank you.
Yep. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are bringing to you a pioneer in Ahmadiyya awareness. If it wasn't for Akber Chaudhary and AK Sheikh, and I don't know in what order, but in together as a team or by themselves, they really drove the ex-Amity movement and got us to where we are today in 2021. A lot of the arguments, the videos, everyone watched it. These guys risked a lot. They risked their career, they risked their livelihood, and we are just in constant admiration. So yeah, with that, I came up with 10 questions, and I'm just going to jump right into it. So these are 10 questions that I didn't think you had been asked before exactly. And if you haven't seen his other interviews, search up the Tariq Chauhan YouTube channel, and I think Amir Faisal, and you'll find those. So we're just going to start with the first question. Tell us about Mirza Tahir Ahmad and the election of Bhutto, and specifically, how was the Ahmadiyya Jamaat involved politically? What were they trying to get out of it? Where were you at in all of this? Because I know you were in West Africa and back and forth. So yeah, please let's start here.
Sure. So, first of all, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God. And second is thank you for inviting me. And number two, it's a pleasure to talk to you after such a long while. And I can't continue. I cannot continue without appreciating the effort and the energy that you are putting into this. In fact, one of the we work together on MD.org and other sites, and now that you've come out into the open, it's a pleasure to watch you, to see your posts and see your style. Everybody has their own style. We may agree or not agree, and even today, I warn you in the 10 questions, I may not completely agree with your point of view, but that's the whole thing. We're free. We are free. We are thinking. We are Muslims. We are free. We are not bound by any doctrine. We are bound by only the laws of Allah, or the laws of Islam. And it is such a pleasure to be independent and everything else. So I haven't had much chance to review. I had a very busy day, but here goes. So yes, Mirza Tahir Ahmad had a very he admitted himself in some of his speeches that he had a very active role in Bhutto's ascent to power and the People's Party. But again, like everything that they do, they undermine the essence of it. Okay, so even if they go and vote for democracy in Canada or in UK, they are not really giving the individual the right to choose. They are giving them a mandate saying you're going to vote for the Liberal Party this year or you're going to vote for this candidate this year, and the people are not even questioning, saying why are we going to vote for this guy?
Right.
So the problem goes way back into 1910s or 20s, where Mirza Bashiruddin was very much aware that the Khilafat needs to have a patch of land. You need to have sovereignty over land, and your deen must be the authority established in that land. Okay, so in order to necessitate that, Mirza Bashiruddin tried many tricks. He tried Qadian. He tried to establish a separate state when India and Pakistan were being divided. He tried to establish something in Kashmir. It didn't work. After we came to Pakistan, he came to Pakistan. He tried to get a land in Balochistan. Then he succeeded in Rabwah. So Rubba was a success for him. He got a patch of land that was under their control, and it was an experiment for their sovereignty. But at the same time, they were acutely aware that this is not going to last. The state within a state was not going to last. So they wanted to align with some kind of a political party. Now, you must understand that since Mirza Bashiruddin's death, there was no democracy in Pakistan until the Bhutto election. Okay, so and even before that, Ayub Khan was there as a dictator, and before that there was Sarzafullah Khan and the early days of Mirza Bashiruddin when he wanted to go back to India. So Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud would announce every week, we're going back to India. Don't buy anything here. We're going back to India. Okay, it has been decreed. It's just like a decree that we're going back to India. So this Bhutto is not something specific. You can say that this was the first democratic opportunity, the first opportunity for the Jamaats to interfere in a democratic Pakistan. Okay, and they did it in their own ham-fisted way. They- okay, so what they did was I was young enough to have witnessed it and remember it. Okay, or old enough or young enough. I don't know what you want to call it, but. Mirza Tahir Ahmad, he was very active. He was much more active than his predecessor, which was Mirza Nasir Ahmad, who was quite weak in terms of personality. So he established a good relationship with the People's Party. He established a good relationship with Bhutto. And then he spread this news all over the Jamaat that you have to go to vote for PPP. And then in Rabwah, I am a witness. My mother was an election manager. I was 5 years old okay, at that time. But I still remember because when she came back home, on her thumb there was some ink. And then she says, okay, or here was some ink. And there was the ink of the mark that you have voted, you know. So you cannot vote for absentee voters. And then the Jamaat has concocted something from a cut potato. So they would actually cut a potato and put something on it and then rub it on that. And wow, that ink, indelible mark would go away. And then my mom went back and voted again. So she's breaking the law. She is breaking the law, but she is doing this in her sincereness to the Jamaat, you know. So this is how they corrupt anything they touch because they don't allow for human choice and human choice and human dignity. So yes, your first question. One second. Yes, and he won the election. Now, after they won the election, they got a sense of, oh, we are with the ruling government, and that backfired again. You can't have a state within a state. The same problem happens now that senior bureaucrats and senior military officials in Pakistan who belong to the Ahmadiyya faith are not promoted. Why? Because they pledge allegiance to the Khalifa. You cannot pledge allegiance to somebody else and expect to be in a position of authority or strategic authority for the state. And this same question was posed to John F. Kennedy when he was the only Catholic president of the U.S. This question was posed to him, and he says, "I will be for my country. I don't care about the Pope when it comes to my job." But Jamaat still does not have the courage to say to its members who are in senior government positions that you can revoke your pledge of allegiance. Sorry, I went on a bit too long, but that is yes. So the answer to your question is yes. They were very heavily involved, and that is the hubris or the hubris that led to the events of 74 when they attacked the train and everything else. So we'll leave that for another time.
Got it. Isn't that when Mirza Nasir Ahmad started inflating the population of Ahmadis, and he told Bhutto, "I'm a 10 million voting bloc"? Isn't that where this started with the population numbers? And you know what? I think he said 10 million worldwide. I think he said, half were in Pakistan or something like that.
I don't remember this quote, but I can tell you that the 50s and 60s were a very fertile time for the Ahmadiyya. Okay. So they had this Waqf-e-Jadid going into small villages in Pakistan, almost everywhere. The ulama were muzzled in a sense. Pakistan was a very secular country. There were no religious laws. And I remember the last jalsa in every jalsa in Rabwah, and I remember the last one in 1981 or 82. I don't remember the exact date, 83, 84 maybe. The early 80s, it had about almost 400,000 people. Okay, so you can assume that the number of Ahmadis in Pakistan, 1 to 5 ratio, would be around 2 million at that time, or maybe more. So worldwide, yes, he could have boasted of 5 6 million at that time. That was a very fertile time for Ahmadis in West Africa and in Pakistan as well. Did he use that to claim political clearance? Yes. But again, Bhutto was a political animal. He knew where the votes were and he knew where everything was. And the Ahmadis had very strong constituencies in Sialkot area. They had very strong constituencies in Gujranwala, Mandi Bahauddin area. They had whole villages that were Ahmadis. They had strong constituency in the Rabwah and surrounding area, and also some parts of Sindh. So they had a bunch of votes. They could deliver a bunch of constituencies, and they did not stand up their own candidates. So they were voting for other candidates, but they were voting en bloc. Okay, so which is against the spirit of
Democracy.
democracy. Okay, so
honestly. So okay.
yeah.
You mentioned going back to India. Why won't the current Khalifa or even the fourth Khalifa? Why didn't he go back to India? Why won't they go back? Because I mean, there's no Muslims in is it West Punjab, East Punjab? There's no Muslims there. No one to bother you. Why not move back, buy a small village adjacent to Qadian, and then slowly? Why not?
Exactly. So I have asked them many times in my interviews. I have said that Narendra Modi, the current Prime Minister of India, has asked has said that any non-Muslim minorities in yeah the non-Muslim minorities in the Indian subcontinent can obtain Indian citizenship whenever they want. Okay, and he has said that Hindu and Sikhs will be prioritized if they emigrate from Pakistan or Bangladesh, and they are welcome in India. So I have asked Mirza Nasir Ahmad a couple of times, why don't you go ahead and seek the same minority status if you're so unhappy in Pakistan? Okay, but they will not, because the situation of the Muslims in India is not very good, and number two, they are not even considered Muslims by the Muslims of India. Okay, so and the way the Muslims are governed in India is that they have a family law a family law setup. So the criminal law and civil law is the same for everybody, but each religion has their own law panel, and Ahmadis will not be included in that law panel. Okay. Number two, their great claims about Indian number of people in India, and their claims about the number of Bas there, the 80 million and so, will all fall apart. And then what happens if the Khalifa is in Qadian and Qadian still remains at 10,000 Ahmadis and 20,000 Sikhs? Okay.
And it's less than that. I think it's like Nicholas Evans says it was about
Yeah.
3,000.
3,000. So after the Khalifa goes there, they will maybe balloon to 10,000. Okay. Okay. So, and then still the Sikhs will outnumber them in Qadian. So that will be a big embarrassment for them. So they haven't tried. As far as I've seen, they haven't tried. But they should go back to India for many reasons. India is a fertile ground, but India also is a very intellectual ground. Okay, much more intellectual than Pakistan. It is not so. In Pakistan, there is more emotion and less intellect when it comes to religious debates, and in India, because there are so many religions, it is a little bit more intellectual and less emotional. But they are acutely aware that they don't have the intellectual foundation. But it's a very valid point. It's a very, very valid point that it's a very valid point that they should try to go back to India.
Got it. Okay, so we mentioned Rabwah, and a question just popped into my mind. Is Rabwah on a 99-year lease? And if so, when does it expire? And as a Muslim in Pakistan, can I lobby a congressman to cancel this lease?
Okay. Okay, so it's a leasehold property. The property within the leasehold is only transferred via with the approval of the Jamaat and so on. It is leasehold for 99 years, expires in 2048, I think. And Okay, this is a very question from left field. What will happen to the lease now? Who is the leaseholder? I have no idea. So it all depends whether the leaseholder is a local landlord, from Lalia, which was the next town next to Chenab Nagar, Rabwah. So I would not be able to answer, but this is a very good question, and we could research on that. 2048 would be the year 2049, because I think they got the Rubba lease in 1949 or 1950. But most likely, when you have a leasehold like that, the lease gets extended, because this leasehold concept comes from England. So in England, many, many, many properties, I won't venture to say what percentage, but many buildings are on a 999-year lease or a 99-year lease, something like that. The property is not transferred because it's part of an estate, an old ancient estate, so it is not split. But if I the law tends to favor what has been built on it. So had there not been any buildings on this land, there would have been a case made to get it revoked, okay, or somebody else to lease it. But because of the tens of thousands of people who are living on this land, if there is any challenge in the court, I'm just talking hypothetically from a legal point of view, based on my legal knowledge, is that the court would side with the people who are already on the land and grant them the first opportunity to renew the lease or to extend the lease. A similar situation happened in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was on lease from China, and and in 1997 they refused to renew the lease. But I don't know who the leaseholder is in this case. Yeah,
Right,
if it,
right.
yeah.
Now, can the average Muslim lobby in Pakistan to their senator, to the senator of the Punjab, or
Yes,
whoever's in charge of the
yes.
Punjab, and maybe if we get 1 million signatures to say, hey, and we will pay to move them to, I mean, give us a loan. Maybe the World Bank, maybe the United Nations, someone can foot the bill and let's solve this situation.
Yeah, or we can be more generous, and we can say that you can convert it from leasehold to freehold. So freehold means that the people who have their houses on there, they would be the owners of the property, and they would not be bound by the Jamaat. This way, the owners themselves would align with us. They would love to have freehold of their property, and not be bound to rules of the Jamaat that they are bound to. So yes, that can be done. It will be a good campaign to start. And meanwhile, I will go back and research with some of my law fellows here and see what the legal situation is.
I think that's the best idea. You actually just came up with the best idea.
Yeah.
How did 1974 affect the schools in Rubba? Like, didn't they make it a private into an open city in 74? How come they didn't in 74 say, why is this lease here? I mean, this Samdani Commission, the information that they brought back was pretty bad against the Jamaat. How come it wasn't done in 74?
Okay. The 74 nationalization of schools and colleges all over the country was not much to do with the Samdani report, because there was a nationalization going on everywhere. So
Oh,
Bhutto was a socialist to begin with. Okay, and he nationalized many, many corporations and schools and colleges everywhere. So that happened, that coincided in time. Now, what was the motivation? Was it the Samdani report, or was it the general nationalization going on? I do not know. But I know for a fact that FC College and many other private Christian colleges all over Pakistan were all nationalized. Okay, So Rabwah had a good reputation being in a very rural area and a semi-urban class who ran these schools and colleges. There were a bunch of students here who were from non-Ahmadi background, and they were treated well, to give credit to the Ahmadiyya running of these schools. And they say that after the government took things over, the quality went down. Okay. And yes, the Samdani Commission, which has not been made public since, basically said that they are a state within a state. And it was the Samdani Commission report that was one of the big triggers, in addition to the train attack, that led to the parliament hearing in 1974.
Okay, so let me see. Oh, so okay, you also mentioned Waqf-e-Jadid, and I found references where the Ahmadiyya movement started businesses under Waqf-e-Jadid, and then I sort of got information that maybe Shazan, the company Shazan, it could have been a front. I mean, they have a front man who owns the company, but it's a funneling system. What's the connection with Shazan and the Ahmadiyya movement financially?
No, to be honest, here I will disagree with the general opinion on this. I think there's just a private businessman, who did a good job running bakeries and running these things. And now the poor guy has La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah written on top of every Shazan bakery and every Shazan outlet. So, yeah, I think this was just a regular Ahmadi businessman who became lucky and who succeeded. And the same goes for Shahnawaz. So Shahnawaz is another renowned Ahmadi businessman in Pakistan who owns certain exclusive dealerships. Not the least among them is the Mercedes dealership. So Shahnawaz owns the Mercedes dealership for Mercedes Benz dealership for the whole of Pakistan. And here is where some of our more extremist Muslim brothers need to relent a bit. They need to keep the private businessmen away from them. Now, coming to the misadventures, the business misadventures of the Ahmadiyya. So let's leave the private guys aside. Let's not interfere with them. Every citizen of Pakistan has a right to run a business. Okay. The Hashu group, who are Aga Khanis, they own the Marriott, the Marriott chain, and others, and another Parsi group, Parsi, yes, the Avaris, they own the Avari hotel chain in Pakistan. So minorities have done very good in terms of business, in Pakistan, and Ahmadis are among them. So there is one caveat there. One caveat is that these these Ahmadis who are successful in business, they still come to the Khalifa to seek blessings and so on. But so do the Aga Khanis. So when the Aga Khan visited Islamabad, there were a lot of Aga Khani businessmen who went to see him, and pledge allegiance to him. So I think we should take that as acceptable. A person's religion is his private matter, and who he talks to is private matter. Now, Jamaat started Waqf-e-Jadid businesses, many of them, and also in Sindh, the land that they reclaimed from the sale of the land in Qadian. So they played a big trick. Mirza Bashiruddin played a trick saying, we're going back to India, don't make a claim here. Okay? And then he went and made the claim for the whole of Qadian by himself. Okay? Because he was the Rais of Qadian, he was the owner of Qadian, he was the landowner of Qadian. So he had the right to make a claim on that. But then you can also argue that he made a claim and then he gave the land away in Rabwah very cheaply to the Ahmadis who had migrated. So he built a quasi Rabwah here. Okay. But all of their businesses have failed. I don't remember a single business that they started which ever succeeded.
Got it. So okay, you mentioned legal framework in America and in Canada, in the UK, probably in Germany. Ahmadiyya Movement is a non-profit corporation, but in Pakistan, I haven't been able to figure out if non-profit corporations exist, and if they do, are they or do churches? Because in America, churches exist everywhere, and they don't pay any tax, any sales tax, any property tax, any that they do pay payroll tax. I think I'm quite sure that. But how is the Amity movement operating in Pakistan? And with the Thayer Heart Institute, their hospitals, are those private? Are they public? If you can explain.
Yeah. So we don't have the concept of a charity in tax deductible charity in Pakistan, okay? Which is, by the way, Pakistan is one of the most charitable per capita countries in the world. You know, there's a huge charity stuff here. We don't like to pay taxes, but we like to give charity. And even I was coming home back today, and I saw at least three or four signboards saying free food, and there was a menu there. Monday dal, Tuesday sabzi, Thursday dal, whatever. Okay,
You're making
so
me hungry. You're making me hungry. Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
know. So there's a lot of charity, and there is a lot of rich people who give to the poor people. So people are much less hungrier than they are in Afghanistan or India. So Pakistan is a very, very charitable country. In Ramadan or in Eid al-Adha, we struggle to find a poor person, to be honest. Okay? Yeah, in the urban areas, there is more poverty in the rural areas, but then there is enough to eat for everybody in the rural areas. So it's poverty of money, not the poverty of hunger. So coming back to your question, which was, yeah, so we it is not, there is no charitable tax deductible charitable foundation. Every corporation is a corporation registered as a private corporation with the SECP, or registered as a foundation. So I think that difference between a non-profit and a for-profit is that the for-profit corporations are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, SECP, whether they are private or public, and the foundations are registered separately as NGOs. So the Jamaat Foundation is very old. That's just after partition. So it may have been subject to laws that were very old, the Indian laws or the British laws at that time. So this is a corporate. It is a corporate entity. It has an auditor. So one of the people in Canada now who is an Ahmadi used to live in work in Faisalabad and Lahore, and he was appointed as an auditor for the Jamaat for 2 years. Okay, he himself being an Ahmadi. So I know for a fact the auditor comes to Rabwah and he stays in the guest house there, the Darul Ziyafat, and he audits the accounts for 2 weeks. Okay, and then he prepares the reports and goes back. Now, the Sadr Anjuman is actually the board of directors of the foundation or the corporation. Okay, so this is true everywhere. So even in UK, US, the national Amla is the board of directors of the corporation in that country. Okay. Oh, you are on mute, I think.
Sorry about that. So okay, so let's go with that. So how do they get the money to Panama? Is it
Ah, okay. Okay. Very good. So those Ahmadis who say that the government doesn't like us or government doesn't let us be, the answer to them is, look, your organization is registered with the government. They send auditors and they pass your registration every year. You open new places of worship, they don't object to it. So the saying that Ahmadis are persecuted by the state in Pakistan is very bad. They are discriminated in the public area, and that is because of their own self isolation. Okay, now the whole point of Pakistani, after the jalsa, the last jalsa in the 80s, Pakistan had a surplus of chadda collections, because there is no murabbis who go on tabligh for Waqf-e-Jadid. There is no jalsa, there is no expenditure, there's very little expenditure, and there's this a million or half a million or whatever you want to call them Ahmadis who are sending money. Okay, so they built some buildings in Rabwah, they built a couple of hospitals, and then the money man is the Mirza family member who is trusted and known. He holds the money bag. Okay, and this is the guy who siphons money out of Rabwa into uh, outside. Why outside? Because Khalifa went outside. When Khalifa was there, the money was there. When Khalifa went outside, the money started to trickle outside. Why? There is not much expense for it there. So during during Mirza Tahir's era, Mirza Masroor was the money man. Okay, he held the money bag. And if you want to predict who the next Khalifa will be, he will be the current money man. Okay, so the current money man is the trusted guy who will be the next Khalifa. So, and then in Mirza Masroor's era, there were a couple of people who were named in the Panama Papers, whom we found as directors of corporations, and one of them belongs to the Mirza family. So you will find in Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation in UK, incorporated UK, you will find here in Pakistan, and you will find everywhere that there's one board member. There is one board member who belongs to the Mirza family. Okay, and he is this board member who everybody says yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, because of the Jamaat. They say he's from Khandan, from the family of the Promised Messiah. So why argue against him? So the purpose of the Panama accounts, and again, I am challenging the Jamaat as I have done for last 4, 5, 6 years since the Panama came out, saying that if I'm saying anything wrong, please sue me. Please, please file for libel, slander, whatever you want. Okay, and if I'm saying anything wrong, is that they siphon the money through these Panama accounts into private individual accounts. I'm absolutely emphatic on this, that this goes into private accounts. This does not go into the public accounts of the international organizations of the UK Jamaat or the international Jamaat, because there is no input line on their tax returns that shows money coming from offshore companies. Okay. So one thing we found in the Panama Papers was there is one mysterious company called TJ Holdings. And before the Panama Papers came out in 2011, 2012, I did a couple of videos on the Jamaat financial systems. And there I said TJ Holdings. And I said, we have not been able to find out where this TJ Holdings exists. It's on the record. And when the Panama Papers came out, lo and behold, there is a Panama registered company called TJ Holdings. Okay? And TJ Holdings has a lien. You know what a lien is? That they have mortgaged the property. So Tahir Hall on Deer Park Street in England was mortgaged. They paid it off after the Panama Papers came out. Was mortgaged by TJ Holdings. Okay? So even if they do buy property outside Pakistan, it is by personal private mortgage. Okay? So the money came out of Pakistan. They bought Tahir House in Mirza Tahir's time on Deer Park, 22 Deer Park. Okay, I can give you the exact address. Okay, they bought the money there, but they mortgaged it against the private shareholders, which are the Mirza family of TJ Holdings. Okay, so now we are paying chanda back to free Tahir House from TJ Holdings, who got the money originally from transfers from Pakistan. Okay, so not okay. So the Mirza family is very, very well off, and they, according to me, they always plan for a day when they're going to run out of chanda payers. Okay, and when they're going to run out of chanda payers, you will see them become something like Aga Khan or something like that. There will be a rump of few people there. That is my prediction. I can't see into the future, but I'm just trying to predict, So it will be a rump Jamaat, very luxurious. They will own unashamedly, they will own yachts, super yachts, and they will own big hospitals and big buildings and things like that. They will become a super family, like an old aristocracy type of family, That is what they have prepared for, You don't mute again, sorry.
Yeah, got it. So okay. So with that being said, what was the purpose of Mirza Nasir Ahmad creating Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat International and consolidating everything?
Yes. So Mirza Masroor, as I've often said, people don't like me saying, is a much better manager than Mirza Tahir or Mirza Nasir before him, or even he comes from a business background. He's managed things. So, and he doesn't have much. Yeah, that's TJ Holding. Okay. So, and Mirza Masroor does not have much intellectual ability at the same time. So he has his he is, but he's a good manager. Now he's smiling at us right now, there, right? Okay, saying, "You guys talking about me, okay?" I know you guys talking about me. Okay, but anyways, what what he um what he did was he cut off all these offshore companies by Mirza Tahir, and he started new ones under his control or under the control of his henchmen. And that is what they do. Each khilafat, especially now, the offshore khilafats, as I call them, okay, the Rabwah khilafat.
Hold on. I'm sorry, the offshore Khilafas. Okay.
No. When they were in India or Pakistan, they were part of So by the next Khalifa, we will know if this Mirza Masroor pattern remains intact or whether somebody else comes in and replaces it with his own charities. Okay. So Mirza Masroor did not touch the national charities, but he made an umbrella organization called AMJ International, which, to its credit, is not used for siphoning money off, to be honest. Okay. So that is redistribution of money. The rich Jamaats give their portion into it, and the poor Jamaats take from it. Okay. So the poor being India, poor being Africa. Okay. So the money is moved around among the international Jamaats. But from the tax return of the AMJ International, you cannot see the siphoning happening except for one case, which is the money going to the Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation. So Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation is what we call the I skipped the name, skips my mind. The slush fund. Okay. Okay. So that is the slush fund. There is no accountability for it. There is no Majlis Shura for it. There is no nothing for it.
Got it. So, which brings me right to the next question. Why does the Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation hold the headquarters in Tilford, which is like an asset worth 40 million pounds? That's its only function. Here, I'm gonna post so here's some of the research that I've done, and all this Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation, its only job is to hold as a asset their headquarters, as if it's separate. The headquarters is separate,
Yeah.
and
So
Mirza Nasir Ahmad doesn't have his name on anything. So
yeah,
so please enlighten us.
yeah, exactly. So this foundation is very strange. It is very strange. It is not reporting to. It is not reporting to any other organization. It's completely independent charity. And now here they are breaking the law in one case. They are breaking the law that about 5, 6, 7 years ago, the UK passed a law as saying a person with significant control, a PSC, a person of significant control of any charitable organization must be named. And Jamaat has not named Mirza Masroor as a person with significant control, and they are breaking the law. Anybody want to fight on this or raise an issue on this? This would be a slam dunk. Okay, everybody on the board is controlled by the person, the Mirza Masroor Ahmad. Yet his name is nowhere. Okay, so this is a violation of UK laws, and that law was brought in specifically to control these offshore charities, as you call them. The guy may be in India or in Pakistan, and he has a UK charity, and he's making money and sending it back to himself in India. And yeah, and the people here are just proxies for him. So they're breaking the law. Every one of these charities, there are 6 or 7 of them, Shirkatul Islamia and AMJ International and AMJ UK and MTA TV, and there are 5, 6 of them. They are all, the person with significant control should be Mirza Masroor Ahmad, and he should be named on them. Okay, but they are not being named. So that is a problem. Okay, that is a real place where the law is being broken, and you and I can work on it. Whoever has time can work on it. Or maybe create a petition or something, and and sign it. Now, coming back to your question was, sorry, I went on a tangent there.
No
Um,
worries. What? Why is the Khalifa not on it?
yeah,
And what's this fishy business? Okay, so let's go back a little bit. Why is Pakistan not categorized under AMJI, Ahmadiyya movement? I just checked their website. They have a list of like 100 countries under AMJI. Pakistan is not there.
exactly. Very good point. So this is just fantastic research by you. So the reason for these charity, for the first part of the question, is the reason for this charity like Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation is for a rainy day when the Jamaat winds up or one family goes away. So this Mirza Sharif Ahmad Foundation was named because finally they got some money. Okay, so it was through Mirza Bashiruddin and his okay, and his children. So the Mirza Sharif Ahmad side of the family was poor. They were actually poor, and now they got some money. So they named it after their grandfather or their great grandfather. And after the Jamaat, after Mirza, if the Khilafat goes away from this branch of the family, this money is gone. This is Mirza Sharif Ahmad's foundation. Okay, so they've taken their due, they've taken their cut. So we yet to see, but this money is never going to come back to the Jamaat. These properties will be sold, will be auctioned, or they will become the nest egg of what I see as the future aristocratic ex Khalifa families. I will give you an example of that. Is the ex royal families of Europe, they live rich aristocratic lifestyles, so that
Right.
is what I see these guys becoming now. Last part is why Pakistan is not there. Sending money to Pakistan, getting money out of Pakistan, number one, they don't want to show it on paper because the reality is different. And number two, they avoid the scrutiny of FATF and other international organizations who are scrutinizing money coming in and out of Pakistan, And because Pakistan is a plus country, Pakistan is a country from which they draw money, okay? And that is a big injustice to the poor Ahmadis of Pakistan who pay from their, they pay, how they pay chanda, God knows,
God knows. Yeah.
that is a big injustice. So if they took money out of Pakistan, they would have to show it on their taxes, and they don't want to show it on their taxes.
Right, right. So, okay, how are they using Humanity First as a marketing tool?
Okay, so humanity first. Okay, humanity first is again, uh, here I'm very cynical. Humanity first is just to increase the chanda net. Okay, so they said, okay, there may not be enough MDs in Pakistan who are stupid enough to give chanda. Okay, so they will get chanda from the Goras, okay, or from the blacks, or from from whoever. That's it. Humanity first, the work it does and the money it collects is completely disproportionate to the work they do, and you will see less and less of them because, as I told you, everything the Jamaat does, it fails. Okay, everything the Jamaat does, it fails because it is never sincere. Okay, so they will only go to the big news item disaster areas. Okay, they will only go to the cheap areas where they already have some presence. They will take a bunch of local khudam, go shift a bunch of broken bricks around. Okay, take some pictures.
बता रहे हो मतलब हो गया.
Yeah, carnival ho gaya. That's it. Okay. Take some pictures and come back with humanity first. So the people have caught on to them. The Gora charity companies have caught on to them, and they are not funded by those anymore. Now, if you look at the humanity first offices, they are usually overlap with the offices of the Jamaat in that country. Okay, so the same people again. So, for example, let's say Jamaat was banned for some reason. Jamaat was banned in Canada because they violated something. Okay, all of a sudden, everybody will move to humanity first. Okay, so that is the alternate, non-denominational, non-religious charity. But because they are addicted to charity money, okay, There is no reason why the chanda collected in Jamaat cannot be spent for humanitarian purposes. If the Aga Khan can spend the money he collects, in humanitarian purposes and great hospitals, why can't the Jamaat? The Jamaat has tens of useless chandas, and why can't they use them, reduce their footprint? Why did they need to do humanity first? So it is number one, to attract the goras and get money from other people. Number two, to have a backup, a stand-up organized backup in case the Jamaat is banned in any organization. That is my opinion. It's not fact, it's opinion. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. And it sounds like that. I mean, that's how someone would wash money in capitalism. I mean, even Trump has for-profit businesses and non-profit businesses, and then you start to mix, and then because so unless you're on the SEC, you're not going to get audited as much as if you're not on the SEC. So
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
and in accounting, there's so many tricks. So okay, there's a new thing out. There's a new thing out called the Pandora Papers.
Yeah.
Um, who's gonna go through it and find the names of the Mirza family?
I have tried to find the raw data, but I don't think they've published the raw data yet. Okay. So there's just a bunch of articles. There's no raw data. What we know is that there are 700 Pakistanis among them, and that is a much bigger number than the one that found in the Panama Papers. And if Ahmadiyya continue with the offshore business, hanky panky, that should be there, but they have not released the data file yet. If you have, whenever you see it, let me know, and we'll go through it, and we'll see. So if you see any data dump that has the definitive list or the full list, then we will go through it.
Got it. And I pulled up. Oh, so okay. What is the Ahmadiyya relationship with foreign governments, dating back to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and specifically there was a grandson of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad who was an executive at the World Bank, and in
Yeah,
fact, his name was on the company in Panama Papers,
yeah.
Mirza Muzaffar Ahmad. So, can you enlighten us on the Ahmadiyya connections with foreign governments, and also taking into consideration, Mirza Tahir Ahmad said he knew an ambassador at the U.S. embassy who told him to leave, who gave him the intel that he needed to leave, and that's why he left. And I don't know how he got a visa, an emergency visa when he landed, or to leave. I think to leave Pakistan in 1984, you would have to show a visa. So can you explain that, please?
Yeah. So what I have with me, and sorry I couldn't take it out of my cabinet here. I have with me. I can show you at some point. I need to scan those papers and post them somewhere. There are some cables and some declassified documents from 1918, 1928, 1930s, from different foreign missions of the UK. Sorry, of the Ahmadiyya. So when the Ahmadiyya went to West Africa, it was under British and French control. Okay, so they would write to the British High Commission, or sorry, the British Foreign Office, and say, "Can you allow us to send a missionary there?" And then that would go up and down the chain, and then all those comments, handwritten in that age, were there. Very nice documents. I will get a chance to find them from my place here and scan them and send them up. At that time, the British said they are useful. That is their word for them. So let them go. At any time, we can pull their strings. Okay. Number two, the British have never let down anybody who helped them, even if it was hundreds of years ago. Okay. So if you look at this passage from Afghanistan, the British did the best. Okay. They got everybody, or people who helped them out. Okay. And if you look at the Gurkhas of Nepal, okay, despite there being a couple of laws against them, eventually they were granted residency in the UK, okay, because they fought for the British. So because of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's and his father's contribution in 1857 in the War of Independence, which is called the Mutiny by the British, and his subsequent services of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, they the British government will always take care of any Ahmadi member of this family who wants asylum in Britain. Okay, that will always be the case. They are very good towards that. That's how they built an empire. Okay. Now, in the 1930s, in the late 30s, we see the local British commissioner of Qadian very unhappy with Mirza Bashiruddin. Okay, okay? Especially with Ahrar, Ataullah Shah Bukhari, and all that stuff, and especially with the murder of Multani, he wasn't happy with that kind of thing. And they warned him a few times, okay, that don't play this thing. Now we come to 40s and 50s, where Sardafullah Khan is part of the global diplomatic network. Okay, and their Jamaat established a good many diplomatic relationships, which led to the foundation of a couple of very beautiful places of worship buildings in Denmark. Nice, cute ones. And that's all due to the diplomatic relationship that Sardafullah Khan had. Okay, so the Jamaat diplomatic approach works on two counts. Works on the British. I have a cable from the British embassy in the UK in Pakistan sending a cable to UK Foreign Office saying that the Furla was here with me last night. He was very agitated. He was very anxious, because he thought he was going to. So they knew the Furla would actually go and talk to them. The Furla would go and tell them when he was the foreign minister what is going on with him, and there is documentary evidence of that. Okay, which I have, and I have it on the wiki site as well. Okay, I have some parts of it on the wiki site as well. So, and then in 1947, when Mirza Bashiruddin was left behind and he thought he would never come to Pakistan and the Sikhs would kill him, there was a frantic cables from all Ahmadiyya missions all over the world, from Mauritius, from Ghana, from all these lesser known countries, saying, "Please save our Khalifa in Qadian." Okay, so that is the old network, and this is what they had. The Jamaat was not really interested in refugee or UN work at all before the 1970s, when they were declared non-Muslim in Pakistan. So this is the background of their work. But now, after the 2010s, I would say, the 2010s has been a very productive time, where almost every government of the world knows that Ahmadis don't represent Muslims. Okay, so this huge campaign that Ahmadis launched between 2007 and 2012-13, there was a huge push, Khalifa of Islam and this and that, that has backfired. So what has happened is that we push back, and now no journal, no magazine, no TV channel, and no government in the West will take them as representatives of Islam anymore. The
Right.
offshoot of Islam, the phrase offshoot of Islam is how they understand. And we call them the Mormons of Islam, and they immediately understand, okay, that they don't speak on behalf of Islam. So apart from that, I don't know what other diplomatic thing. So
What about the World Bank? The World Bank, because Mirza Muzaffar Ahmad was in Pakistan. I think he got stabbed in an elevator, and then he immediately got a job at the World Bank.
yeah, so that is not very something that is not very remarkable, because if you look at Bakir right now, who is the chief of the Pakistan State Bank, he worked for the UN and he came here, and one of the finance ministers of Pakistan last year was with the IMF, and he came to Pakistan, So Egyptians and Pakistanis and these countries where there's a lot of dependency on IMF and World Bank, they go back and forth, So
Okay.
I would not, yeah. So I would not hold this against him. He was a capable person. He There was a time when he was acting Minister of Finance, and he would actually sign the 1 rupee note. The signature on the note. Mirza Muzaffar Ahmad signed those notes. Now, when he went to US in his old age, he became a little bit hyper partisan and a little bit Jamaat centric. But as long as he remained, he did not play much role even in Jamaat jalsas or things like that. He was pretty much a financial person. He was a bureaucrat, inside out. So for financial bureaucrats from third world countries or developing countries, going to the IMF or World Bank is not a big deal.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had mentioned going to Africa, and we're going to get to that. But from my research, and I read the book by Fisher, 1963. I think it's one of the most authoritative academic works on Ahmadiyya in Africa. He said that they didn't get access to the French colonies because the French have always had some type of issue with Islam, but they got access
Yes,
to the British colonies, which
exactly,
were so
exactly.
many, and I think Togo was German, but in the 1970s they did get access to the French, like Mali and Chad, and it's very unfortunate how the French have puppet governments in Africa, and they're just controlling their trade, and they got their own trade zones, um and the French lost Vietnam, and America tried to help, and it was a disaster. But so anyhow,
Yeah. So as I said, they applied to the British and the French in the 1910s and 1920s, and the British reviewed, and there's a big a paper trail of their review process, and it says they may be useful, okay, and they said, oh, we can control them, but the French, being French, they said no, and it was not in the 70s. Most of the French colonies had become independent, or as independent as you want.
as
The
as you
French.
want to as you want to believe.
Exactly. The French very much controlled the French colonies financially. Okay. And you can say it's good or bad. I don't really name that, because, to be honest, many of these small countries were just not capable of being financially independent. And over time, they have been less corrupt than the British independent ones.
Right.
So, okay. So if you look at Senegal, and you look at Ivory Coast, they have been less corrupt than countries like Nigeria, for example, okay, or Sierra Leone. Uh, Guinea has been less corrupt than Liberia, okay. So and they have been quite successful. Senegal have. So I cannot judge whether the French way was right or whether the British way was right. But the French still control a big chunk of the businesses, and now they took their profit, but they I think they were less corrupt than the Portuguese and the British ex-colonies. And in the 70s, yes, they were almost all independent. So then the Jamaat went ahead.
Got it. So okay. What was I gonna ask? So which leads me to the next question. What years were you in West Africa, and how many Amnys are there in West Africa?
Okay. So the West Africans don't wear their religion on their sleeves. Okay. They are, they are pretty they are pretty relaxed. They're pretty relaxed about their faith. Okay. So it is what is the relationship you have. So there's a comment right now in your comment section which says, in Africa, in particular the West Africa, many Muslims don't know about Ahmadiyya. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is right. But to be honest, they don't know much about any religion. Okay. It's a very laid back society. I've lived there as a child. I understand it completely. They don't, and they won't kill for religion. Okay. So killing for religion is a very much Middle Eastern phenomenon. Okay. And which then transplanted to Europe, and transplanted to South Asia, and transplanted to America. But it arose in the Middle East. Africans, Christian Muslims, except the north of West Africa, where the Sahara Desert starts. Then the Fulani, they call the Fulani, and the other name is starts with a T. The Sultan of Sokoto and the other people there, they are very much conservative. Okay, and then they start to resemble the North African Muslims. But in the dark part of Africa, which is the rainforest and the sub-Saharan Africa, they are very relaxed about religion. If a chief says, "Oh, I like the Ahmadiyya," then all of his 100,000 followers will become, Ahmadiyya. And the next year he says, "I'm with the Christians," and they will say, "Oh, we are Christians." Okay, and they do follow. So my comment so far is not to denigrate their religion. They follow Islam. I saw a girl receiving lashes according to Islamic when I was a child. She was a neighbor, and she'd done something wrong, and they were giving her Islamic lashes with a cleric standing with the Quran in his hand. Hello, are you gone? Oh, let's wait for Bashir to come back. So as I was saying, until he comes back,
I'm
oh,
back. I'm back.
you're back. Okay. So yeah, so this is not to denigrate them. They are very firm believers on on Islam, but they're not fanatical about it. Okay, they're just simply not fanatical about it.
Got it. So is this why there have been so many splits in the Ahmadiyya movement in West Africa? Like I think as soon as they landed, 1922, a year later, there was a huge split, and even now there's other factions of Ahmadis in West Africa.
There's a huge bunch of them, and some of them we don't even know about.
Right.
So, having said that, they don't wear their religion on a sleeve and they don't fight for faith, they are a spiritual. They have deep spirituality, and it's borrowed from their animistic ancestral faith, as well as from the Islamic and the Christian faiths. Okay, so it is if there is a Muslim, he will be a Muslim. He will not like change. He will follow Islam to the best of his ability, but he will be very laid back about it. Um, uh, Sorry, your question was, I keep forget. Yes,
Why are there so many splits?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in the Ahmadi
Yeah,
movement.
so part of that is number one, they don't, again, to give credit to Africans, they are not like the Punjabis. Okay, so Punjabi are a special breed in this world, that they that any new religion. I'm sorry, I'm Punjabi
No,
myself.
it's yeah, hey, it's totally okay for us to talk about our own people. It's okay.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
Iqbal,
people only.
Allama Iqbal has a small poem called Punjabi Musalman, okay, in Urdu, and it says कि तावील का फंदा सयाद जो सयाद लगा दे ये उतरता है नशेमन से बहुत जल्द. That whenever any hunter creates a tawil, tawil, a new interpretation of the scripture, he creates a trap out of a tawil. This bird, this Punjabi Muslim bird, runs to the trap and gets trapped inside it. Okay. Okay. So if you look at it, Sikhism started from Punjab, Ahmadiyya started from Punjab, Ghulam Ahmad Parvez started from Punjab. So we are very eager and very keen to adopt any new spirituality out there without, and then the people are not very rigorous, very logically rigorous. You can use rhetoric to sway them. Okay, but Africans, to be on the other hand, the educated ones especially, are very rigorous about their. They are very good logical people who know speech. So as soon as they find out that it's fake, they will leave, and then or they will form their own separate community, and then they why they form a community, because there is a lack of organized religion in Africa. Okay, the old animistic. That's why the Christian missionaries has huge success there, because there was a lack of organized religion. So what they will do is they will take the Ahmadiyya organization, but they will create their own spirituality or their own beliefs. The other aspect is the racist mentality and the African aversion to racism, because Africa has been subject to racism. So they will actually consider the Pakistani missionaries as racist, and then they will try to form an indigenous form of that religion. So this new guy from Ivory Coast, how is he doing? The new Mehdi Messiah claimant from Ivory Coast.
Oh, let's see. The last time I checked in, hold on, let's see. And I'm unmuted. Okay, I haven't checked in a while, but let me see if I can pull up the guy's name. And I can't pull up his name. So okay, hold that thought, and I'll look for it. What years were you in West Africa, and did you meet Dr. Balogun, who was a famous ex-Amdi?
No, no, I don't meet Dr. Balogun. I met Nassim Sefi and other missionaries. I met a couple of African missionaries in Sierra Leone. So I was in Pakistan from 1966 to 1969 when I was a baby. Okay. And then I was in Pakistan from 1969 to 1970, 71, 72, and 73. And then right after the 73 elections, in which my mom used the potato, uh, we went back to we went back to Sierra Leone in 19. My brother was born in 1974 in Sierra Leone. My other brother was born in 1975, and we stayed there in 76 and 77. And I came back in 1978, February or March of 1978. Okay, from Nigeria. So in 1976, we moved from Sierra Leone to Nigeria, and from 1976 to 78, I lived in Nigeria. My father came back in 84. He lived in Nigeria from 78 to 84. Didn't succeed much with business or with work, but he came back in about 1984. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, a Fisher told us in the '60s that the Ahmadiyya business model is to build a school, build a hospital, then they get funding from the government, and then their jamia seems to be a bunch of English teachers that they're preparing to teach in their own schools. Um, or if I'm wrong, please correct me. But what is the Ahmadiyya business model in West Africa?
Okay. So in terms of their schools and hospitals, they do take any grants or anything that comes their way from the government, and that is true everywhere, even in Pakistan or in Canada or everywhere. Whatever the government can pitch in, they will take advantage of it. In Africa, the local chanda is almost non-existent. Okay. Yeah, people are very poor, and they
So in other words, they're not like the Punjabis.
no, 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 no. They're not the Punjabis. Yeah. They're very yeah. They don't like to give their hand hard-earned money, and a bunch of the majority of them are very poor. It's Africa is a poor nation, poor country. So the local collection is not very high, and the AMJ International does distribute some of the money over to their African countries. That is a fact. It is known. It is recorded. And then they do help. Their hospitals and schools do help. Used to help, not anymore, because now there is a hospital school almost every place. In the 60s and 70s and early 80s, there were villages and areas that did not have schools and did not have hospitals. But now they have. And Jamaat-run hospitals. The good thing is that if the government takes part in running them, they do run well. But if the Jamaat is responsible to run them, they run them into the ground. There is not much, except for the ones in Rabwah, the Tahir Ahmad Institute, and a couple of others. They don't have much success in running institutes.
Okay, so we haven't talked theology yet.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
So now we're moving towards theology, and there's a huge discussion going on in Ahmadiyya awareness groups about Yuze Asa.
Yes.
Mirza Ghulam Ahmad factually quoted chapter 2350 of the Quran and claimed that Isa al-Islam and Maryam both traveled to India. And, he also claimed that this grave and etc. Did Mirza Tahir Ahmad change that when he came to the UK? We have some new research coming out that for some reason we just record that he's starting to deny the tomb, deny its importance, deny and then he says there's no ilham Mirza Ghulam Ahmad got. So please, can you weigh in?
Yeah. So this is what I think I saw those videos by Mirza Tahir Ahmad. This is an integral part of the Ahmadiyya theology. We should never let them escape from this. In 2003, I asked my younger brother what has Mirza brought to the world, and one of his things was that the tomb in Kashmir. And but now my brother is an archaeologist with a PhD degree, and okay, so I think his viewpoint may have changed. And last year I talked to him after 15 years, 16 years, and says, any research into Yud Asaf, and he just kept silent. Okay, so okay, so that is an Ahmadi Achilles heel. And Mirza Tahir Ahmad was reacting to the imminent exposure of that thing, you know. And if you look at his body language and the phrases he was using, he was saying that this would not change anything. You know, this would not change anything. Okay, so what it tells you is that it will change everything. You know, it will change everything, because when he said Isa is alayhi salam is dead, he had to find a place where he was buried. So he found two or three places. One was called Nasibain in Iraq, one was in Syria, and one was in Palestine. And he
Balad
sent,
Sham or something. I think it said Balad
yeah,
Sham or something.
yeah. So, and I'm gonna drink some water. I'm just gonna put myself on stop my mic, but I will keep on talking. How do you
I can, let me see if
Spotify?
I can stop it on my end.
No, oh, I was able to.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. So
Okay.
I will just continue to talk. I just want to drink some water. So this is very crucial to them. So then you, like, when you are investigating a murder, you have to find a murder weapon. Okay. So when you say somebody is dead, okay, yeah, you have to find their grave. Okay. So not having found the grave in yeah, not having found the grave in Nasibain in Iraq or in Syria or wherever, he came across this book by Nicholas Donatovich, and we said, "Oh, this is Jesus who came to Kashmir," and he latched onto it, and then he latched onto it, saying that this is given to him by God. Okay, and he quoted Notovich as support of his God revelation. So Mirza Tahir Ahmad is literally lying there that there was no ilham regarding this. There may not have been an ilham regarding Yud Asaf, but Mirza is clearly saying that this is what God has told me, and he is using Yud Asaf as a corroboration, okay, as a supporting. Sorry, he's using Nicholas Notovich story of Yud Asaf as a corroboration, saying other people also believe the same thing, but it was triggered not Notovich, okay. So what happens then is. Yeah, so Mirza Tahir was very much on the defensive. Now, to put this up there, this is a very good move by whoever is doing this. This is one of the two or three things that people say Mirza brought to this world. One is this thing. The other thing is Arabic is the mother of all languages. Okay, which if I tell you the history of it, you will laugh. You everybody will laugh. Somebody called what was his name? Fisher or no? Sorry, I just forget the name. He was a German scientist, a linguist. Okay, who said that Sanskrit is a very old language and is part of the Indo-European languages, and it may be that other languages are derived from Sanskrit because it's very old. Okay, is one of the oldest member of a family. So if you have the oldest member of a family, it derives from there. And Mirza Saab in those days was having a feud with the, with the Arya Samaj, and he used the word Aryan languages. And Mirza Saab, for somehow, whoever read the English to him said Arya. Oh, all his antennas went up. Arya cannot be, okay. So the same way Hitler used Aryan, Aryan, Aryen,
Yeah,
the
he
same.
even used the swastika is an Indian invention.
Yeah, exactly. So he used the word Aryan, and for some reason, Mirza said it is now a part. It is going to be the credit is going to be taken by the Arya Samaj, although they were not stupid. These were half literate people in Qadian at that time, Okay, so he just overreacted to the word Aryan, okay, and he said, "Oh, Arya is not going to take the credit for this. I'm going to claim Arabic is the mother of all languages." Okay, so this was a very clever trick, because now the Muslims couldn't come and attack him on this, saying,
Right.
"Why are you attacking Arabic?" So, but the truth is that Arabic is not the root of languages. Arabic comes from Hebrew, which comes from Syriac, and what was the language of Jesus Christ?
Hebrew or Aramaic.
Aramaic, Aramaic and Syriac, So there is a whole philology of these languages, there's a whole tree of these, and linguists are there. And then there was this guy called Muhammad Ahmad Mazhar in Faisalabad, who wrote many books tracing German to Arabic, and then tracing Ukrainian to Arabic, and tracing Russian to Arabic. He wrote a bunch of books, about 50 or 60 of them, okay, sitting in Faisalabad, and claiming whenever there was a similarity between words, he would say it belongs there. And people in Rabwah would say, "Oh, Sheikh Muhammad Ahmad Mazhar is one of the greatest scholars in this world, okay, who has proven that Mirza Sahib, has come up with this theory of Arabic being the mother of all languages." And that is another pseudo-scientific. I call it pseudoscience, And pseudoscience, this thing is also pseudoscience. Both of them. The third thing that is there that will really crack the faith of the Ahmadis is this whole thing about Muslim out. So if you know, these days there is a whole bunch of discussion going around Jamba Sahib and Muslim out and who is Muslim out and whatever is Muslim out. So Muslim out was a promised son, okay, and that promised son was just to entice the family of Mohammadi Begum. Okay, so in the late 1880s, he wrote a letter to the relatives of Mohammadi Begum saying, implying very clearly that the male issue from this marriage with Mohammadi Begum will inherit everything that he is doing, will be his spiritual inheritor, his spiritual successor would be the son of Mohammadi Begum. And in that same advertisement, he also said, "Oh, by the way, I am now prophesying a great son that will be born to me, the promised reformer, and this and that." So both those prophecies, it was just to entice that girl's family into marriage, saying, "Here I am, a big spiritual leader in India," which he thought he was, "and I am literally promising you that I will leave my existing children, my no good children." And yeah, because until the very end of his life, he said, "None of my children is going to be the promised son." And but anyways, so these are the three big frauds that can break anybody's thing. So coming back to Yud Asaf, coming back to him, Yud Asaf is a complete fraud. There's complete fraud. Who stopped that lady from taking a DNA sample? I don't know. But now there is a lot of recorded history on internet about Yud Asaf and who he was and his history. He was the son of a king, or something like that, and he was a saint or whatever he was. There is more. We have more proof of who he was than before. So we don't even need a DNA test now to prove who he to prove who he was. And we literally cannot find any scientific evidence saying that he was Isa alayhi Islam. Now, attached to this is another fiction, which is the city of Murray in Pakistan. They said, "Oh, Murray was named Murray because Mary was accompanying Jesus, and Mary may have died at Murray. Okay, and that's why it's called Murray. Now scientists know that Murray is not named after Mary.
Right, and we've shown that it was British soldiers who built the church. There's a church dedicated to Mary. They were Catholic. We know how Catholics have something going on with the Mother Mary. I don't exactly remember, but how that is. But Mirza Ghulam Ahmad took it a step further and said the Injil had been found in Tibet and Kashmir, and he said this Injil would break the cross. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. So breaking the cross, I don't remember this thing exactly, but Injil is very different from the gospel. So if we read the Quran, Injil is that part of the gospel which is what God revealed to Isa alayhi salam. Okay, so Injil cannot be compared with Torah. Torah is made up of a lot of revelation from God. Even if it says God told me this, God said this to Abraham, God said this to Moses, blah blah blah. Oh, sorry, I don't say blah, blah, blah. But and that. But in Injil, you will find the gospel of the disciples, and in that, in somewhere in there, would be a phrase or a sentence saying, "God said this," or "My Father says this." Uh, Jesus would say that is the Injil. So the Injil is they're not the Gospels, and the way of selecting the Gospels. So there was a bunch of Gospels from which they selected four, okay, to put in the New Testament. Uh, and then Paul and the Acts of the Apostles, and then Revelation of John, and so on. So the New Testament is not Injil, okay. The New Testament, it cannot be equated to the Injil, okay. The same way as the Talmud cannot be equated to the Torah, okay. So the Torah is the Torah, the revelation on Moses. So if they say that Injil was found in Tibet or wherever, then ask them, what Injil? Is it the Gospels? Okay, or is it the actual revelation that we don't have now? We don't have a compilation of the revelation on Isa alayhi salam. Injil is extinct. Injil does not exist anymore. Okay, so I don't know where that goes, but if they find Gospels, then I'm sorry, they were made hundreds of years or decades after Isa alayhi salam. So there is no relation between finding the gospel and Jesus being there.
Yeah, so if the tomb of Yusuf and Rabwah is not a big thing, why did they name this town Rabwah?
Ah, so
And there are no springs going through the middle of Rabwah. There's no
yeah,
water. It's not a plateau. Or I
okay,
mean,
okay, okay. So this verse has two parts. So I don't want to misread the Quran this time. So wa'awaynahuma. Yeah, we granted them refuge in a high place. Okay, in a high place. And then the last part of the verse is that kararim wa ma'in. So it had valleys and it had springs. Okay, so Rabwah is just a high place. It is an elevated place. It has hills around it, but it does not have any springs or any valleys. And Kashmir has springs and valleys, and it is a high place. So, uh, what commentators have said, that this is part of this is where they were in Palestine. Now, it is very very hard to travel from Palestine all the way to Kashmir. And to be honest, Srinagar is in the eastern part of Kashmir. Okay, yeah. So on a height. So we gave them refuge on a height. So the Rabwah town is a high place. Okay, and Flocks, yeah, Flocks and Vara Spring. So it does it does look like Kashmir, but so do many places in the highlands of Palestine. So Lebanon, for example. You don't have to come to Kashmir, you know, to you don't have to come to Kashmir to find this thing. If you also look how hard it is to travel in that time, you know, why would Isa alayhi salam travel all the way to Kashmir? Now to say he was trying to find the lost tribes of Israel, there is Israeli blood, Jewish blood in the Afghans and some of these tribes, but my brother did the archaeology degree just to prove this, and because he hasn't proven this, it has not happened. Okay, and then why would they not find refuge, let's say, coming out of Palestine, in Syria, or in Iraq, or in Iran, or in Afghanistan, okay, or in the Khorasan time of that period? Then the other thing you should remember is, if you go back 2,000 years, 2000 plus years, Bashir, you will see that there was the Roman Empire, and then there was the Persian Empire. Okay, and Kashmir was not the part of the Persian Empire. So let's say they had escaped the Roman Empire and they had come into the control of the Persian Empire, they would be safe. You know, they would not need to go and exit the Persian Empire over to no man's land. So Kashmir and India at that time was basically no man's land. This was just owned by chieftains. It was not part of any empire. And the last thing is that there is no archaeological or scientific evidence whatsoever. It's just fiction. It's just absolute fiction. It's a
Got it.
lie. Yeah.
What's your so there's another book that somehow I must have overlooked. Barlam and Jehoshaphat. It's some type of tale that they had in Arabic. Europeans brought it. I think maybe the Portuguese, when they landed in Madras or wherever that they landed in South India. There's this famous book called Barlam and Jehoshaphat, and basically the word Jehoshaphat that they said was turned into Yuz Asif. Um, and Mirza Ghulam Ahmad didn't directly quote it, and that's very odd because it was published from India, so he knew about it. So there was Nicholas Natovich's work, which was a fraud, and then there was this a Barlam and Jehoshaphat book that said the gospel. Like it's just weird what it said. It said something about the Bushra being in Kashmir, and Mirza Ghulam took the Bushra to mean the Injil or the Bible. So, what's your position on Barlam and Jehoshaphat? Have you came across that?
I have not. Sorry, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Send me a link, and I will look into it further. But Bushra is so the Christians sometimes use Muslim terminology when they translate the Bible. Okay, so they will use Allah, the word Allah. They will use Khudawand. They will use Salam. They will use Shukr. So they will use a lot of terminology. And the Barlam and Jatsafat. What does it say? Uh, what is like? Is it something?
Yeah, so let me just sort of brief you. In 1895, 1896 in India, there was a book republished by Joseph Jacobs that was quoted in the Review of Religions of 1906 by an
Yeah.
Ahmadiyya author. And I mean, honestly, it's so weird and so strange. Here, let me share my screen and show you. Um, I haven't been able to wrap my head around it yet at this point. So let's see. Okay, can you see it?
1 second. I was looking at your blog post.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I think I just shared my screen.
yeah,
Yeah. So honestly, we haven't figured it out. Walter quoted it in 1918. Um, but we have not found this in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's books to date. Not sure where it's going to go, but that book was published in that year. We have found the quote in 1906 in the Review of Religions, which were edited by Muhammad Ali. Here's the scan of that, and then here's the work by Walter, which brings it up. So we're just still trying to figure it out. Like
yeah,
honestly, there's so much. Just like you said, there's so much new research work coming
yeah.
out. We're just trying to keep up with all the new.
What does Walter say?
What did Walter say? So Walter quoted it. I think it was a matter of he said two other stories which were introduced by Ahmed as evidence for his theory were the well-known tale of Barlam and Jehoshaphat. And then he says, well, it's an Indian prince who's supposed to have been the Buddha, and there's a Persian stuff going on here. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm still working on getting a copy of the 1895 edition of this book.
okay. So I think this may have been the this. If you look at what you just showed me, if you look at it, this is by Muhammad ibn Bahway from. I've heard this name before. Persian historian. I've heard the name. It is a well-known name, and it's the fourth century of Islam. So this is the oldest we find. An Indian prince and saint named Yus Asif who wandered to Kashmir, where he died. In either case, yeah. So this is where this whole story started. So this is wonderful stuff. In any case, he has been recorded in history as Persian, and I was just talking a short while ago that because he would have crossed Persia if he wanted to cross, then
It's
Persians
the
would
only
have a
way. It's
yeah,
literally it's a choke
exactly.
point.
Persians would have a record of him. So here we have a Persian historian, and Persia was the closest civilized or world-connected civilized place at that time. And they have a record of this story. And yes, it looks to me like this is Yusuf, and he is an Indian prince. And even the Kashmiris say that yes, he was a prince. Their local stories say he was a prince. He was the son of a king, and he may have turned saintly. He may have embraced Islam at a very before Islam came to subcontinent. So it may be that Yud Asaf, who is a real person, okay, may have come across Islam in Persia, and may have gone back to India to his hometown in Kashmir. So and that is where Mirza Sahib may have picked up the story. And Mirza
Right.
Sahib is known for that. He picks up stories. He doesn't credit the original. Yeah, he doesn't credit the original author, and he may have just used Notovich as a corroboration, and maybe Notovich was the one who combined these two things in.
Right, right. So why are Amdis telling us now their most popular polemicists unofficially? They're unofficially telling us there was no ilham, and they refuse to even discuss 2350 of the Quran. Is this the new? Do you see them in the future totally denying this tomb?
I see themselves, and I've said this many times that their only two future modes of survival is to number one, their two modes of survival is number one to dissolve back into Islam, leave their extremism and their extreme topics, which is very highly unlikely. Or the other thing is to become more cultish. So what they're doing is they're becoming more cultish, saying we are not going to say Mirza lied. We're not going to say Mirza was wrong. We're just going to say Mirza made this ijtihadi error, which Mirza made every day. So, okay. Now they have exaggerated this ijtihadi error, beyond any stretch of imagination. So Mirza had this ijtihadi error, and let me grab my water. Okay, Mirza had this ijtihadi error, and this is what they're going to do. So they are just going to say this is why they have been moving to the Khalifa a lot over the last 10, 15 years. So they're saying we are Ahmadis because we are attached to the Khalifa. We don't care what Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said. We don't care what Mirza Bashiruddin said, but we are attached to the Khalifa. No, none of the Muslims are attached to Khalifa. We have this divine person with us who can give us all the answers that we need, and we are very happy and content with these answers. So this is the future, which is the second option, which is that they will become more and more of a cult that will not even now Bashir, they are not claiming to be the intellectuals that they claim to be in 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. Okay, so
Right.
they rarely do you hear now कि मेरे फिरका के लोग इल्म और मार्फत में कमाल हासिल करेंगे, because they know that they are intellectually bankrupt, So that intellectual bankruptcy has set in. The only way they're going to keep some simpletons in the fold is to say, guys, we have the Khalifa. Forget about all this complicated stuff about in books and everything else. You're happy, you give your money, you come to the meeting, you have your Khalifa, you write a letter to him, and everybody's happy. So that is what they're going to eventually become. Jamaat is never going to write an expose on this. They're never going to write a book on this. They know they have lied. They know it's false. They know it's absolutely BS. Okay. So you will not find. Why could they not? With all this thing going on, why can't they write a research on it? Why they should be the first one to do the research on this? If you remember, there used to be a website called the tombofjesus.com.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a guy who specialized in the tomb of Jesus. And should the Jamaat not be the one who should champion this? But they know it's wrong. They know it's false.
Yeah, which and I think Molvi Abdullah became Baha'i, and even the owner of this Tomb of Jesus became Baha'i. So that leads me into two questions left. Two questions left. The last one. We keep finding more and more data that says Ahmadiyya stole from Baha'ism. In fact, the concept of Baruz. I recently saw a reference where Mirza Ghulam Ahmad called himself the Baruz of Allah, Nauzubillah, and etc. What's the connection with but and keep in mind, I think I tracked it to the Kitab of Baha'ism. What is it called? Kitab al-Aqdas was published
Yeah,
from India. It
yeah,
was published
Kitabi
from India,
Akdas. Yeah.
I think from
So
Bombay or Calcutta in 1891, the same year Mirza Ghulam Ahmad made his claim.
yeah, yeah. So the Baha'is were very reluctant to publish their holy book, Kitabi Akdas, but now they do, which is again a much better book than anything Mirza ever wrote. Okay, so and no, I'm just being charitable here. I'm being very generous here. I'm saying he wrote. I'm not saying he scribbled or he something like that. But he wrote. Okay, so I think he's a writer. But what happens is, yes, Buruz is a Farsi word, has a Farsi origin, and it is used in some Sufi circles. So I would not say, I'm not sure about it, but I wouldn't assume that it is a Baha'i word. I don't think Baha'is introduced any new words into they did introduce a few concepts, but words, I don't think so. So I think this is a Sufi thing that has come in there. Was Mirza aware of Baha'u'llah? Maybe, maybe not, because Bab and Baha'u'llah were very severely persecuted in Iran at that time. And also, if the Kitabi Aqdas, are you sure it was published in 1891?
I believe so. I'd have to double check because I'd be going off of memory.
Yeah.
But the Ahmadiyya newspaper in 1904 quoted the entire situation of Baha'u'llah, saying he outlived to the 23-year condition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
So,
know,
and yes, but Mirza was very unaware of Baha'u'llah, although because he was a contemporary and it was not in the news. He should have been more aware of Baha'u'llah as a direct competitor at that time, meaning he was a contemporary. But Baha'u'llah, from what I know of Baha'ism, he went on a religious and a theosophical approach. He was a continuation of Islam. So he saw what he thought was the gaps in Islam, and then he tried to work on them. But Mirza was just claimed to be Mahdi and Messiah without any philosophical or theological new ground. Mirza did not break any new ground, okay, except for his claims.
got it. Okay, so final question, and then we'll open up the chat and then see if we can name a bunch of people. But final question: if I'm a citizen in America, Canada, UK, or Germany, and I want to get some laws passed to stop financial abuse of people with through these charities, even via the Catholic Church. I think the tithe is 10%, which is like wasiyat. It's exactly the same thing. Um, and no one knows who made wasiyat 10% per month. Mirza Ahmad never said 10% per month during his life. That's also a mystery. Even the 6.25%, it's not tracked to any certain year. But as a citizen of the West, should I be writing letters to my congressmen, senators, and what laws can I get passed to stop all of this?
Very good question. So, first of all, the 10% is for wasiyat. The 6.25% Chanda Am is a very stupid thing, and they blame it on Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. That's a wrong blame. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the elder Mirza Sahib, never prescribed Chanda Am for anyone. Okay. In one of his early books, he said that people, Christians, give so much money for their propagation of their faith in countries and for missionaries. क्या तुम लोग रुपए पे अन्ना भी नहीं दे सकते? So what he's saying is, can you not give an anna on a rupee, which means 6.25%, because there were 16 annas in a rupee. So this is like saying, can you not give a pence on a pound? Can you not even give a pence out of a pound? So it was a rhetorical question, and it was not meant for anything like that. And the concept of wasiyat was, he again said, the English widows, British widows, bequeath their inheritance. They bequeath their inheritance to the church. So I'm founding an ongoing financial system for the Jamaat after I die, and there he did mention 10%, I believe. I'm not sure, but I think
Yeah,
he did.
it's not monthly. I checked. It's
It is not monthly. It is not from income. This is another innovation just to get money. This is inheritance, one time inheritance. Okay? After you die. So all you do is you put it in your will that 10% of what I leave behind. Then Jamaat says, why not 10% of your income? That's complete fiction. That is not based on Midrasab at all. So it is just an inheritance. There is no Midrasab injection. This is one of the things that I have challenged many times, that where is it 6.25? Where is the monthly wasiyat? And there is no response. But Ahmadis continue to give it, despite the fact that they cannot find a reference to it, but they continue to give it. I mean, I'm sometimes amazed how easy is it to get money from other
from
from
other
other people.
people. You just ask it and they give it.
You just ask them to give it.
So okay, was it Mirza Nasir Ahmad who started the wasiyat thing? Because I remember being a kid, I can't remember Mirza Tahir Ahmad ever putting pressure on people to do wasiyat.
Yeah, yeah. So Wasiyat was always not obligatory, and it was a very private thing, and only people who wanted to become Mufis did. So when I was a child, even there was no movement, no rush. It was just a next stage of being an Ahmadi, especially when you get old age. But Mirza Masroor, because he has had the toughest drives on money. So the money drives that he has done, and the chanda collection, he has gone after it badly. And you know why? Because he has to show a 3% or 5% year over year growth to show that the Jamaat is growing. And because the Jamaat has been declining, people have been leaving Ahmadiyyas over the last 10, 15 years. Therefore, they have to draw more from the remainder. Okay. And please note this: the first year, when they are forced to show lower figures than the year before, will be the unraveling, will be the automatic unraveling. Okay.
Right, because they always show a progression going up. They'll never
Yeah,
show it going down.
exactly. So right now they are doing whatever they can to extract the maximum they can from all remaining people, just to keep the graph going upwards.
Right.
And then yeah, but there will come a time where that graph will simply not move anymore up. It will start to come down, and there will be a lot of explanation to do at that time. That prompts me to go to the charity site right now after this interview and look at the progress between last year and this year, because there may have been a downturn because of COVID, which I haven't observed yet. So that maybe they have the first downturn there.
Yeah, but Mirza Masroor Ahmad says that he's a Musi. How I thought the Mirza family was exempt, or was it just the sons and not the great grandsons or the grandson, or
So
is he lying? I think he said he's a Musi.
yeah, he just says that for my family. Mirza Ghulam Ahmed just says for my family.
Right,
So by being a Musi, he may not be saying that he is doing this to be buried in the cemetery. He's just saying that he is giving part of his wealth or his money or his income as well. So because the concept of giving wasiyat to be buried in a certain place, that being the Khalifa, he automatically will get that place. Being a member of the family, he will automatically get that place. So if I haven't heard this, in what context he said this, but I'm just assuming from what you said that if there is, that he is giving out of his money as well. But I don't think he's doing that to get a place in the graveyard.
right,
That is already
right.
booked. Yeah, that is already
Okay,
his.
yeah, yeah. So we're getting close to 2 hours here. Ladies and gentlemen, um if you wanted to see where I got the motivation and the inspiration and the information to do the blog, the YouTube channel, the work, it all came from Akber Chaudhary and AK Sheikh. And I don't know what order to put that in.
No, no, that's
Putting it together. Maybe it's one person or two people in one. But with that, we're gonna end the program. And one last thing is a challenge. Today we have a challenge for you, and then I'll let you go. How many ex-Amitys can you name off the top of your head, and I'll be counting.
Oh, let me see.
Let's
Well,
drop some names on them.
I can Sheikh Saab and you come to mind.
That's two.
Myself, there is two people who have called me or who have contacted me. Two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 7 or 8 people from Canada who I know personally, who have told me personally that they have publicly left. There are many others who have not left publicly, but they don't allow you to give their names out. In England, there has been a huge wave. So there has been about, Shahid Kamal and his Ghanaian friend, and many good, very strongly established Ahmadi families. They left, and there's one lady we know with 3 of her sons, and some people from Germany. So I would put, these are the people I can name. Germany, I know a bunch. Don't remember their names anymore. Pakistan, about 4 or 5 names come to mind. But again, in each of these countries, I would say in US, it's in the hundreds. In Canada, it is in US, it's in the hundreds. In Canada, it's in the low hundreds. In England, it's in the thousands. In England and Germany, it's in the low thousands. So 1 to 3,000, I would say. And Pakistan, I would say, is in the tens of thousands.
Got it. So,
Yeah.
okay, final question. I'm gonna let you go. Is the refugee crisis, the Ahmadiyya refugee crisis, is this gonna bring Ahmadiyya down?
The crisis in Malaysia.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Malaysia,
Okay.
Sri Lanka, Thailand. I think Malaysia is the most extreme example.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with these guys. I've taken a lot of flack from people saying, "Why don't you agree with these poor people?" They're not poor people. They were rich people. They paid the agents a fortune, millions of rupees. It was a business decision they made which went wrong. So they thought they would get out of the country. They would pay an agent so much money to get out of the country, and then they would make money. And they are not yeah. So I think they should just go back to Pakistan, especially the current government. It has a policy of not asking any questions from any returning refugee claimant. This happened after Saudi Arabia deported a bunch of people. So Pakistan had to make a policy of that. They will just let you in. They will ask you a few questions and let you in,
Do they have to
And
buy the ticket? Do they have to have the money to buy a ticket to
no,
go back?
no, the government will repatriate them now. Okay,
Oh, so they should all just go home
exactly.
and it's okay. Well, because it sounds like they might have just became Amity for the asylum, and is that why the Ahmadiyya movement just left them?
I don't know. I don't know whether that is the reason or that is not the reason. But they are not. They are only motivated in getting to Canada. Okay, so that is their only motivation. They don't have a fear of life or a fear of and the countries that they went to, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, these people are very friendly with Pakistan. Okay, so and if they let them go out, then that will open the doors. You just can't do it. So these people are their children are just going to merge into the local population at some point, or they will just uh, Jamaat wanted to create Ahmadiyya Jamaats there. So say, okay, we'll send a few people. If they go to Canada, fantastic. If not, then we will have a new Jamaat in Malaysia or Thailand or whatever. But they have kept them in refugee camps. Those people are smart. They know these are economic migrants. And to be honest, I don't have any sympathy for them whatsoever. Because if you were afraid of life, if you were in imminent danger of your life, now you have no danger to your life. End of story. Okay,
Right,
that is the greatest fear that a person has, and that is the definition of a refugee as per UN, the United Nations Refugee Convention. Okay, that you have a fear for your life. Okay, these people when they come back to Pakistan, they don't fear for their life. There are hundreds of thousands of Pakistanis working here. Having businesses, working, jobs and everything else. So there is no reason to do that. So I think they should all go back to their country. They are trying to blackmail the Jamaat. They're trying to blackmail the Jamaat to get them into Canada. And Jamaat is not going to give in, and the local countries are not going to give in. Those East Asian countries are very tough. And Jamaat is very tough because Jamaat also knows that this kind of blackmail, they cannot get into this kind of blackmail. So, and if you ask them saying, why don't you leave the Jamaat? And every one of them says, no, we're not going to leave the Jamaat. What do you want the Jamaat to do? Or send us to Canada?
right. Right. So okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, today you got to see the pioneer of the ex-Amity movement. We're gonna end the stream, brothers. Stay around in the back chat. I just want to officially say assalamu alaikum to you before you go. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have. Assalamu alaikum, and make sure to check out Akber Chaudhary's his other videos where he went deep into his life and West Africa and Rabwah and et cetera, et cetera. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have. Assalamu alaikum and